just know that I've been going on probably 28 hours without sleep, right?
Well, I guess the one of the first questions I noticed in the media release and what you said just now, although you briefed the National Security Council, this comes less than 12 hours after the Homeland Security Minister would have said there's no uptick or upsurge in crime. What do you say to that? And it comes just, what, 2 or 3 months after the last state of emergency ended as well. So, what are your thoughts on that? And also, was the Homeland Security Minister consulted? Did you all have any sort of, one-on-one conversations in terms of allocation of resources, etc., going forward?
All right, so that's a real mouthful. So I'll try to bite it one piece. Firstly, the Homeland Security Minister was absolutely correct when he said that there's no uptick in crime. The crime statistics actually are lower in comparison to last year and year before. So that's a no-brainer. With regards to conversations with the Homeland Security Minister about strategies going forward, strategies are sometimes better felt than spoken about. If I have a crime strategy, I would not want to come before you, the media, and advertise the crime strategy, because then it would come to naught. So there are strategies in play. And with regards to this state of emergency coming on the heels of another, this has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do, with any particular threat to a politician, any particular threat to any group of persons outside of what I mentioned here to you, that there are a group of criminals in our society, some of them behind bars and some of them on the outside, form themselves into an amalgamated unit of an organized crime syndicate and intent on wreaking havoc on the good citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. I hope that answers your question.
Commissioner, good morning.
Ms. Paul, good morning to you.
Now, the press release from the TTPS indicated that there is no curfew in effect, but can you spell out the parameters under which the SOE is now going to take effect? What powers, what can citizens expect, and what powers does the police, law enforcement actually have again now? Additional powers, I should say.
The additional powers of the police, we, as per all state of emergencies, can now enter the premises of persons without a search warrant. And that is one of the key things that we must take into consideration, in particular with this state of emergency and the reason why it was asked for. Curfew. I have decided that that is not an issue with regards. I want the good citizens of Trinidad and Tobago to continue to enjoy their lifestyle without placing any undue sort of strain on them with regards to how they live, and we love to party and we love to socialize and all of that. So I would love to see Trinidad and Tobago continue. The persons who have to be concerned are the criminals, because this is what that particular SOE and the emergency powers geared to and aimed at targeting. So you, the good citizen, and all the good citizens that you know, Ms. Paul, have no reason to fear.
Commissioner, you mentioned just now that you all went to the prisons and would have moved the prisoners, etc., the ones who you think may be involved. The persons who they will be collaborating with on the outside, do you think that, have you all started rounding, have the police started rounding these people up, or do you think by announcing this, they've gotten a head start and they will now be able to go into hiding, etc.?
So since 12:02 this morning, when I received the proclamation, at 12:05, my men already started covert and overt operations throughout the country. So the part with me coming from the prisons was just a part of that. This is not an SOE of reaction. It is an SOE with proaction. So even whilst I was approaching the Prime Minister and the Attorney General to take action, I was hopeful and placed things in position to act immediately.
Mr. Guevara, just by chance, I know you said you made mention that certain persons, gang leaders, were moved from the MSP in Aruca. Is it possible to get a number or even an average number of how many persons were moved this morning?
I will not be giving that information because I do not want to place any particular spotlight and give rise to any particular names being published that I do not want out into the public. We don't want to make these people famous, you know.
No, not necessarily.
Nah, not at
But
all.
if there's an average number of persons, even if you don't want to give a specific number, if it's more than the 12,
I will hold out from that. I will hold away from that question now. Just know that they are safely incarcerated in a place where communication is now limited.
Commissioner, good morning. James
morning,
Lovin,
sir.
CNC3 News. Is there any information that there are members of the National Security Service who are part and parcel of this plot?
That is a very interesting question. And if I was to answer that question and tell you no, I would be lying to you and the members of the public. Because how else would Ms. Martin and her team, almost on a weekly basis, be finding phones inside of the same cells? So there are persons who seem hell-bent on facilitating the communication of these persons with the outside. So by removing them from that environment and placing them in one where they are a lot more secure, I can feel rest assured that that communication link is broken.
No, we have a state of emergency in place now. You said the inmates on the inside will move to a secure location where they can't communicate with others. Why wasn't that enough to address the situation?
Because they have persons on the outside. Remember I said they form themselves into an organized syndicate. Persons on the outside and persons on the inside working together. This is a big money thing, you know. Kidnapping, home invasions, extortions, the infiltration of URP gangs and state contracts. These are the things that they are using to fund. And guess what they're buying with the money? More guns to come after you. And that is what we want to prevent. So I would urge Trinidad and Tobago to work alongside the TTPS in bringing this to some successful closure.
No, I couldn't help but notice on your arm there's a emblem that resembles the Punisher sign. Right? What if
I am not Punisher.
well
Just
what
putting that out
if
there.
anything is going to be done or in place to prevent or to mitigate the reports of or instances of abuse of power by the members of the
Let us
National
not be
Security?
presumptive and believe that that is the direction we are going. I want Trinidad and Tobago to feel safe. I don't want to presume that my officers will go out there and abuse the citizens. And if any reports of that come to my attention, I will treat with it. We have processes and procedures in place. There's a DO called 14 of 2008. I almost know it verbatim. Disciplinary processes and procedures. So if you, as a member of the TTPS, should breach 14 of 2008 or any of the departmental orders or other legislation that govern us, policies, procedures, we have processes for to deal with that. So fear not, good citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
Will the TTPS be getting support from the Defense Force and will we be getting increased manpower from the Defense Force during this? And also, will the Defense Force have powers of arrest, which is something that normally comes up during a state of emergency?
Yes, the Defense Force officers will have powers of arrest, similar to police officers during the emergency powers regulations. And yes, the CDS and I have spoken. He was present at the National Security Council meeting yesterday, and he has pledged full support for our efforts.
Are you able at this time to identify some of the specific targets that these criminals were aiming after?
So by giving rise to that information, I would then be placing that information into the public, which I don't want it to be. So that is one of the questions that I won't answer.
Now, this intelligence that you would have gathered that about this plot, it was gathered during which period? Or how long ago? Was it just yesterday alone or
Right.
over a period of time?
So over a period of a couple months, bits and pieces of intelligence data came to bear. However, yesterday afternoon, a particular intelligence report came to my attention that had to be brought immediately before the National Security Council. So even though there were existing reports within the sphere of the intelligence data, yesterday's report was the, as they say, the proverbial straw that breaks the camel back. Yes, that's the one.
Now, usually, and on Monday, he was on CNC3 News Morning Brew, and you spoke
Yeah,
of
from Guardian Media. Yeah.
you spoke of post SOE. There seems to be a rise in criminal activity,
I never
returning
said
to
that.
some level of normalcy, criminal normalcy.
Right. Yes.
Right. What, if anything, can or will be done to ensure that this plot that has happened now, after the SOE, that there won't be a continuation?
What, if anything, would be there to what?
To ensure that after the SOE, after this thing has ended, that we won't see a return to this plot, a return to people, members of the national security apparatus bringing in cell phones into these cells, and we're going back, as we like to say in Trinidad, spinning top in mud.
I am hopeful that the persons and the powers that be that have control over the individual organizations can treat with their individual problems, just as the TTPS continues to treat with its own problems, right? And for looking at the holistic view of it, those who are unable to treat with their individual problems, the TTPS will help them. And you know what we will do, right? Nice.
Make a tell me still.
They will face the court. Just as I said, the parents who cannot control their children, we will do what? Confine them. If they can't control the people who work under them, we'll confine them for them too. And the mere fact that I went to that prison this morning, it had plenty room. plenty room. I saw cells there with 8 and 10 double-deckers empty. So, that room.
Based on the intelligence, is there any connection between this, I want to use the word plot, and the last jailbreak that we had some years ago?
No, there's no information or intelligence to say that there is any link between the two.
And the last SOE, again, was called because of gang violence. Are you satisfied that that was properly dealt with? And are you confident that this state of emergency would properly deal with the scourge of gang violence?
All right, so let me be lucidly clear. The last SOE, as you said, was held to deal with gang violence. This particular SOE is being held to deal with a particular threat, even though it involves persons who have formed themselves into an organized crime syndicate, or I don't want to use the word gang, because it's bigger than a gang when you look at different entities coming together. I do not wish to say that it have any, because it's something totally different. This is a particular threat that I had to approach the National Security Council with, so that I want to make that absolutely clear. This has nothing to do with gang violence. Yeah, I see your colleague trying to tell you, hey, pass the mic now, man. You're hogging the mic, boy. What's going on?
Just one question before I pass the mic.
Hold on. So you all not working for the same media house?
You mentioned syndicate. Apart from the gangsters are part of this syndicate, could you identify some of the other players without obviously calling names?
So how can I identify someone without calling it?
Individuals and
You're asking me to name?
the other aspects of the syndicate. We know it will be gangsters. Who else are part of the syndicate?
Well, you mentioned it yourself. There are persons within even law enforcement that whose names may come up. There are persons who, and I don't want to like to use this word gang, we tend to give it a little rise to, gang. So the criminals outside there who form themselves into these little units and pretending to be bad boys out there, they have a lot of them and they like to give themselves all kind of pretty names, right? They even accused at one point in time, they said the TTPS was a gang, but nah, that is not the truth. We are here. Well, you see, I'm pointing any fingers, right? That is you, eh?
No, just saying, that was the PCA who said the biggest gang in the country was the TTPS.
All right. Well, I can say we are a group of committed professionals who continue to carry out our functions as it relates to the public.
Any businessmen or politicians part of this syndicate?
Now you're looking for me to call names. Next question.
Mr. Commissioner, you've been very specific in your wording, and you've said that the SOE is necessary to combat a particular threat.
Particular threat.
The Constitution allows after the declaration 15 days. It may be without going to the House. So it may be preemptive to ask, but I still have to ask, is it that you have a time frame in mind to treat with this threat? As you mentioned, it's a particular threat that you're dealing with. And
So-
do you expect to be done within the 15 days, or you may have to go back?
So this is a very fluid situation, and as I mentioned before, at 12 last night is when I collected this document, and I've been up since then. So it rolls. I was in the prison this morning. I was in other places. So it is fluid. I cannot give rise to a particular sunset date on this. But I can tell you, the decision to put a sunset on this does not rest with the TTPS or the Commissioner of Police. It rests elsewhere. And I know I would be saying, I like to say that is somebody else's responsibility, but yeah, it's really somebody else's responsibility, right?
Commissioner, you've spoken about the fact that this organized syndicate is big business for them. Can you say whether or not the kidnapping of Sati Karim is in any way connected to this or is part of this?
I would want to be very cautious and not give rise to pointing any particular fingers, especially since the young lady is still in the hands of kidnappers. So let us stay away from that aspect. But you will be updated accordingly.
And well, just touching on that quickly, we saw on social media a buzz earlier this week with reports that there was a proof of life video, etc., that was sent to the family. I'm not sure if either you or probably Ms. Martin as and DCPI and I able to give an update on that particular investigation.
So I was hoping to keep this press briefing about the SOE and not stray into other realms. So let's try to rein in the questions and stick with what I'm sure the public want to hear about. Whether or not they could go out tonight and have that cold beer on the avenue, whether or not they could go and have the beach lime, whether or not the little house lime still on over the weekend. So let me stick with that one. I would not want to go down the realm of that. We could treat with that after.
Commissioner, lastly, there's a copy of a proclamation circulating online. Can you see whether or not that is in fact the proclamation that was issued?
I have not seen that copy of the proclamation that you are speaking about circulating online. I can say the proclamation I was given, I have it in my hand. I thought I heard you say last question. That's what you said, right?
Yes.
See, nice.
And Commissioner, you are quite right to say that she did indicate that that was the last question for members of the media. Again, we thank the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gavaro, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Williams, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ma'am George, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Ma'am Martin, and of course, members of the media for taking this information to the national public. We thank you. Remember, if you see something, say something, dial 999-555-800-TIPS. This ends our press brief for today. Have a safe and wonderful weekend. Thank you.
So I hope you all will take my invitation and join me to see my hardworking officers be commended for taking guns off the street. He take up all of the time, eh?
What time is this?
This is TTT. Live for local.
Hey, I'm Hotfoot Harmony and welcome to the magnificent